Welcome back to Project 95. We've been at it for a while, and we're coming up on a break here. Only 3 shows left for me, but they're good ones. So there's always plenty to chat about with this band, as you know. In fact, it's been a great joy to talk about this band for this long. And to get this deep into the Phish experience, because I found over the years very few people interested in it. And that's that's a great frustration of mine, is why can't people just sit down and listen? Or I guess not just listen, but why aren't there more people who want to know everything there is to know about this music? So Mac, just to reiterate, my buddy from high school, 2 years younger, was my first Phish convert, and he was at University of Michigan, which is where I set up shop for basically this whole week. And he was going to the shows with me, just to the Kalamazoo and the Auburn Hills / Detroit show. He went on to become a renowned filmmaker at the side of, he was basically Ken Burns' right-hand man. Still making movies. What I'm finding with this project is there's all these people that I want to reconnect with, and he's one of them. And I have no idea how to get in touch with him. So I haven't. Spencer's on Facebook, whatever. Chris, I'm in contact with Facebook, Instagram. Cooney, off the grid apparently. And Mac, I know where he is. His Twitter is now defunct. So I'm like, I'd love to hear from them about their take on all this stuff, and their memories. But I'm just not. Yeah, I haven't been in like real close contact with them for quite some time now. Nonetheless, here we are. I'm at the University of Michigan. It's a huge state school in Michigan, and I'm kind of getting a taste of that life. As I mentioned yesterday, yesterday was I felt like a college kid again, not a kid on tour. Except I had no classes. I had the best combination. I had the college life without the college part. And that would be most of this week would feel that way. And it was a nice change of pace a little bit, and it was good to be again back with. I had people along the way that I obviously connected with, right? I stayed with Dana on the way out there. Then I stayed with Spencer and Chris in Seattle. I stayed with Han and at his army barracks in Texas, and now I'm with Mac. So, but Mac was, you know, Han was like a one night thing. I barely even didn't get to hang out with him that much. He was close with us in high school. So Mac was like a nice. It was a little bit of home and a little bit of, you know, familiarity, and again, like living that campus life. I do remember. I don't know if it was this night, and I don't want to blow up his spot, but he had a major relationship, relationship catastrophe happen when I was there, and it sort of it clouded some of certainly his enjoyment of the 2 nights, but mine too. I was like, fuck, I don't want to be like, you know, trampling all over his heart, by, you know, not being sympathetic to his situation. It all worked out in the end because he married Ken Burns' daughter eventually. but I think it was his high school girlfriend. They were still together, and it was long distance, and he found out it was bad. So he was bummed and pissed and, like, you know, all the stuff. So I remember these 2 shows, specifically Auburn Hills. So maybe it happened on the 20th, on today. He found out or something, whatever it was. But major relationship catastrophe. So he wasn't himself, and, you know, me and all his buddies at school were, you know, just trying to be like, oh, let's just go to the show and forget about it for a while, you know, blow off steam. And as Phish often does, it seemed as though they had some telepathy and some foresight into it, because they tore up Kalamazoo. And I'm looking at it now, and we're back to, in this iteration of Taste. It's Taste that surrounds now, but this one was more fog than Taste. No, the other one was the one from 2 nights ago where they first did it. This one now has Trey's part overlapping Fishman's part. So Trey's part comes out, I'm up, I can take what you give, da-da-da. And then he starts singing that over Fishman's verses. It seems like what they're trying to do is get rid of Fishman's part, or reduce it, or mask it, or cover it up, or something. But this version of Fog, or Taste That Surrounds, is, I think, the most mix of the 2, and it did not work. It was kind of, it was very stilted, and the jam part's always good once they get out of the woods of the sort of arranged, the verses and everything, and the chorus. Once they get out of that, the jam rips. But it's just, as we've been talking about this, literally this entire tour, the ongoing tweaks and rewrites and reworking of the song is interesting to follow, especially since we all know Taste, right? But this is sort of its origin its origin story, and it's pretty cool. So this one was, I think, a real mix of the two versions. Or the other one was maybe Taste of Fog. Taste of Fog, and this is Taste That Surrounds. For show. No megaphone during Fee. I mean, that was... I'm trying to think of all the Fees that I've seen, how many he didn't sing through the megaphone. And I wonder why. Most of them do have the megaphone. So many that it's worth noting that he did not use the megaphone. And Phish forgetting the words to Suspicious Minds is not on the same... it's not on the same plane as Trey messing up the composed section of Reba. In terms of my frustration or annoyance or whatever you want to call it. So Fishman forgot the words. He does that every time. It's almost part of the charm. Although there have been times where they've played like Bike, and I love that. I love Bike. And then he kind of ruins it by... Because generally when Phish flubs the lyrics, he doubles down and just makes it into nonsense. And I can remember a couple times where I was like, come on, dude. Like, come on. You sing like 3 songs. You can't remember the lyrics? Like, yeah, okay. But again, definitely not on the same plane as a Trey fuck up. And then Mike and Paige, I would never even know if they fucked up. I feel like they never have fucked up. Ever. Probably because I just, like I said, I wouldn't know if they did or didn't. I wouldn't notice it. So the Suspicious Minds was a mess, but like I said, it's kind of supposed to be. It's supposed to be a mess, I think. So we get to the second set, and the second set is just, it's kind of like, I don't know how to say it. Like, the 2001 Bowie is epic. It is epic. Then Dogface Poor Heart is sort of this, like, okay. Then Simple McGrupp, and you're like, epic again. Piano Army Bouncing, like, okay. Keyboard Cavalry. I think that might be what it was called. I don't know. Then a hardcore 95 possum with language cues, with a beat it tease, like, so it's like this second set had this ebb and flow where the ebbs, I didn't love the ebbs. The flows, I did love. And you can see I was not pleased. Ass crowd surfer got an exclamation point, and that means a guy in 95. I'm surprised it hasn't come up more. There was a lot of people trying to get up on the stage was a big thing. Like, I feel like most shows, there'd be a point where somebody would wriggle their way onto stage, and then what, right? This guy got up there and just dove, just crowd surfed. Like he just wanted to get up in the air and crowd surf. I'm like, this guy. Ass crowd surfer, exclamation point. Because mostly they go up and they try to like interact with either Mike or probably mostly Trey and interact with them in some way. Like, I don't know, help them with the song. I don't know what the intentions are. And they get quickly whisked away. And that's it. This guy had no interest. Just got up on the stage, dove off, and people were like, okay. I kind of caught him and set him down. It wasn't like a fucking Pearl Jam. Maybe that's why, because this is mid-90s and grunge is king. And, you know, we got Eddie Vedder climbing the rafters and hanging from the fucking ceiling. And pits and crowd surfing were all the rage. It wasn't much tolerated at Phish shows. Like, even if you got up, they'd be like, yeah, this is stupid. They'd just kind of let you, just set you down. Like, not doing this. So this show, I'd love to hear. Someone asked me on Facebook, like, what was the song that converted Mac for me? Like, what song did you play him that he did flip the switch? And I'm like, I don't have that specific of a memory of it. I just remember being his Phish Sherpa, basically, like just guiding him up the mountain, and what he sort of gravitated to along the way was only he knows. So if you can put me in touch with Dave McMahon, I'd love it. I'm sure there's things I can do I'm sure I can do it if I really wanted to do it. Like, I don't know, reverse look up, I don't know, bullshit. But yeah, when you get the second set, it just has a different, it never really got going, and if it did, they kind of pulled back, so it didn't get to that crazy level, which I've talked about in previous, right? Good and crazy are probably not the two best words used to describe it, but when you hear people talk about a crazy show, it's like things happened that have never happened before. But so many of the shows, and we've gotten to a point where a show's only good if it's crazy. I think these Midwest shows are perfect examples of, you don't have to get crazy to be good. Like, these shows are really, really good. But they never get crazy. Like, if they had done, instead of like Dogface Boy, Poor Heart, those breaks, right? Keyboard Army, bouncing. If they had put in something, something crazy in there, and again, not crazy, but like sort of kept this sort of momentum going, then you're like, oh, that's an all-timer. Like, that's kind of how I feel about Compton Terrace. Like, that show is crazy good because they kept upping the ante, basically, especially in the second set. So I'm feasting on these Midwest 95s, because they're just really strong songs. So tomorrow night we're in Auburn Hills, which is technically Detroit. It's the suburbs of Detroit. And again, I'm with Mac. So this night after the show, we just shot back to Ann Arbor. You can see the map in the initial post for this. So tomorrow night, I'll see you guys in, I'm going to say Detroit because it's cool.